With a population of over 21 million people, Lagos State grapples with housing deficit, a major infrastructure challenge for its teeming inhabitants. Although the state government is making efforts to build new homes in order to plug the gaps, there are more areas to cover. Here's a replay of the report on some of the estates built over 40 years ago by the first executive governor of the state, Chief Lateef Jakande.
With a population figure of over 20 million people, Lagos State grapples with infrastructure challenge as well as shelter for its teeming inhabitants. Now, while the state government makes efforts to build new homes to plug the gaps, we'll take a look at some of the estates built about 40 years ago by the first executive governor of the state, Chief Lateef Jakande. The Jakande's administration in Lagos State in the early 80s is still regarded as one of the most transparent and effective governments of the state. He had his eyes on affordable housing and education for Lagosians, and is said to have constructed over 30,000 housing units within the space of 4 years, including Abeson, Amuwodofin, Iponrin, Alaka estates. 40 years down the line, while population of Lagos has grown astronomically, dwarfing available infrastructure and accommodation, the state of some of the Jakande's housing units leaves so much to be desired. For those who visit or reside at the Abeson estate in Ibadan, Lagos, the challenge begins with the volume of traffic at the junction. However, it's far saner within the estate, except that the infrastructure and the buildings have seen better days. The quality of work done here still shines through, despite the number of years since the buildings were constructed. What is also noticeable is the input from the residents who make attempts to keep Jakande's legacy alive by maintaining and painting their blocks from time to time. A renewal is however needed at the moment. Around the Mile 2 area of Lagos State is another estate also known as the Amuwodofin Housing Estate. The initiative was conceived as a solution to the perennial accommodation problem in the state back then. For those who grew up here, there has been a drastic change from how it used to be in the good old days.
I've been living in this estate since 1978. As a youth, I started living in this with my parents in this estate since 1978. The truth of the matter is that most of this road you see, well, water, this and that, these are when we are young, we used to play ball and enjoy ourselves in those days.
Some of these buildings are falling apart. The environment is surrounded by stagnant water due to lack of a proper drainage system. The impact is better imagined than experienced, according to some of the residents.
All those heavy rainfall of June, July, when they come, the whole estate will turn to a river. And as you can see, this water is not flowing. This water remains here January to December. That is our greatest problem in the estate. So if there is a way that they can help us with proper drainage by which water can flow, the estate will be a better place. Because before now, the estate used to be dry regularly. Yes, especially this place, the estate used to be dry. Now we have this flooding problem here, where this water stay all year round. And we also have it at the back, that place where we call basketball courts. It is those two places that we have the greatest problem of flooding.
When they came to build this new road, the other one there, then this Jakande, the other side there, everywhere came up, here become low. The whole flood from the whole area come to flood here. Usually we don't have any flood here. We need the government to come and inspect it and know how to channel the gutter that the water will be flowing to canal.
Another major concern to the people here is Block 42, which once housed 16 families and now has become a threat to the neighborhood. For over 3 years now, it's been abandoned, posing a great risk to the children who play around the vicinity, oblivious of the danger they're exposed to.
When the government came to come and do some demolition within the estate, we're on the process of destroying the condemn the shops and other things. Some of the pillars they use in amending the block, the trailer and the weight of the noise of the trailer weaken the block. And within after 2 or 3 weeks interval, that was how the veranda of the first floor fell down. That particular moment, Lagos State government and other agents, they all rushed down to come and see in case of any victim casualty. And thank God there was no any victim. So the government asked the tenant and the landlord that were living in that particular block to live under 1 week. How can the government, you see a lot of people, family for 16 blocks, 16 flats in a block, you ask the government will just come and ask the tenant and the landlord and everybody should live, and you didn't even prepare a suitable place for them to move before asking them to live. Because of power, there was nothing the tenant and the landlord could be able to do. They have to abide to the rules.
And since then, we've not seen governments come and do anything about it. They left it, they abandoned it, going to 3 years now, that the place has been in that kind of condition. And before you know, boys, hoolies, they can make that place a kind of hideout. So for us not to have that at the moment, we are pleading to government if they can come and do something about that building itself.
Even the public water is no longer available, and yet the area is flooded with water affecting flats on the ground floor.
Like in my old block, this period alone, 2 people have moved from downstairs. As we are talking now, 2 flats in my block, they've moved just because they are tenants. But for those of us who are landlord, to move is a very difficult thing in Lagos when you notice it. But this year's own, my dear, it was pain. We were in tears for days. The drainage that would take this thing to canal, they've blocked everywhere. The water will not go 3 days, 4 days. If your car is inside the close, you can't move the car outside. If you're outside there, you cannot come inside. Even with leg, it will get to your waist. Most of us that are living downstairs, once it is raining, we will find where to go and put our children, find where to put our property.
While residents of Malto Estate hope for intervention, those in Iponrin appear to have taken their welfare into their hands. Their location may have played a good part in the state of the estate, but the inhabitants have also done quite well with maintenance of the blocks as well as the drainage system.
We find the place very beautiful and decent, better than the local landlords who have been living. We normally paint when necessary. We paint the outside. We have water here. The electricity is better now. It's improving. But water is very good. We have all our drainage are better off than what it used to be before.
However, there is still a little issue which they at the moment do not have control over: noise pollution.
Challenges recently is traffic because of I think the construction of the bridges. They have influx of vehicles, and sometimes they blare their horns and they don't even make us sleep.
Only recently, the state government alluded to understanding the situation of these old estates and that plans were ongoing to have them rehabilitated. As the state government works on possible ways to upgrade these projects, many hope the more modern Lagos homes currently being allocated will not suffer the same fate decades from now.
In response to the plight of occupants of these estates, the special advisor to the Lagos State Governor on Housing acknowledged that these over 40-year-old buildings need attention. Mrs. Toke Benson Awoyinka speaks on government's plans and efforts at regenerating these housing units.
Oh, when I saw that report, I was a bit taken aback. Most times as government, we don't really see everything that goes on. So we act on reports. And immediately I saw the report, I put a call through to my publicity officer and I asked, okay, we need to respond to this. We need to let the people know what we have in mind and what we are putting in place to put this housing estates back into good use. So we also need the trust of the people, telling them that when we come in there, it is for their good. It's not to displace you. It's not to take it away from you and give it to the rich in society. It's to put you back in there because it is the job of government to protect lives and property. And if we don't secure the health of those people there, we had a pandemic and we still have the pandemic. And most of the things that were said before now was that we would pick dead bodies on the streets of Lagos, on the streets of Africa. We have been fortunate, but at the same time, we need to put things into place that will curb a reoccurrence of such things and other diseases like cholera and stuff like that. So I was taken aback, and I think we're going to be looking at those issues immediately. We'll bring it to the attention of Mr. Governor, and we'll see what we need to do. But I know it is urban regeneration. A lot of places in Lagos are in dire need of regeneration, and it costs a lot of money. So we had a stakeholders policy roundtable at the Oriental Hotel where we invited sector practitioners, developers, builders, mortgage companies, finance institutions to come and discuss what we need to do and as to how to finance housing in Lagos. If we need to put so much into housing as a government, we would not have enough to do other things. We have 2 more months in this year. We can do a holistic approach, look into those estates. I mean, we saw your report. We would go back in there and look at what needs to be done, put in the paperwork. As you know, government works on budget. We can't just dip into the coffers of government to spend. And we start putting stuff in place as to how we need to do it. I mean, I've been to Iponrin as well. We have places that have been marked for demolition in Iponrin. And I noticed that over the years, this marked for demolition homes or structures have become residents of miscreants. It's become a security risk also to the inhabitants of the estate. It's dangerous because those buildings can come down. So as a government, I think we will look at it holistically. We will not, you only showed us 2 estates. We have several other estates. If you go to Jakande as well, like I said, it's almost the same, if not worse. And like I said, the people try to resist when you come in there, but those are things that we need to do. So it has to be a holistic approach. Probably not this present administration will finish it, but at least we will start looking at it and making sure that by next year we take it one after the other to see how well we can go and how best we can go to put those houses back into good shape.
Another thorny issue within the housing sector in Lagos is that of dishonest agents and landlords who connive to fleece unsuspecting tenants in search of apartments of their hard-earned money.
We're looking at such issues. We're coming up with regulations for sector practitioners. We're sanitizing the industries. We've gotten the buy-in of practitioners in the sector because when these things occur, it also becomes a sector that is not viable for business owners. It becomes a sector that people are wary to put their monies into. And at the same time, we need to protect them as businessmen in Lagos. It goes a long way when you say Lagos in the international market. We want Lagos to be the real estate hub of Africa, the destination for everybody who wants to invest in Africa or in Nigeria. We want it to be Lagos. So we're putting in the structures to handle such matters. We've gone to court. In some instances, we've got the structure confiscated to the government of Lagos, and we are also in the process of selling off those structures and paying back the victims.